Hello, ladies. How are you? Welcome. Today, I am interviewing Pam Christian, and we are going to be chatting all about mindset. Pam is a mindset coach, motivational speaker, and host of the Juice podcast, who is obsessed with helping you live your best life. She believes in our ability to level up and that individuals, we do have the ability to break our habits and limiting beliefs. And we talk so much about this within our community. So I am thrilled to give a deep dive and really talk about what is our fear and limitations and how is this holding us back. So welcome, Pam. Thank you for all that you do.
I'm excited to be here and to get started talking about this because I know that once we start talking, people will really get into it and find their own tools to change their lives.
Yeah, so if you are listening, we are going to be giving you specific tools so that you can really move past this because the world needs you to level up and to be you and to live to your fullest potential. No more living small here in this community. So, Pam, let's get out and dive deep into fear and limitations. Why do we have them and what are they?
I mean, for everyone, each person, they're different. So, but they're that voice inside of us that's constantly telling us what we can't do, not what we can do. The voice that tells us what we can do, the guide that guides us on the path that is the path of least resistance, is the voice you want to follow. But that voice is scary because for so long we've been taught to focus on what we can't do. We've been conditioned. There are patterns, there are behaviors from society, from culture, from our parents, from our parents' parents. It goes back down ancestor after ancestor after ancestor, and it's up to us, each one of us, to break that pattern. And to do that, it takes a lot of inner strength, but we each have it. We just have to tap into it and find it. So we'll go into ways to do that, but I would say that's really what it is. I couldn't say what your fear is or what someone else's fear is, but we each have fears and we don't even realize they're fears yet because they're just the way we're living. But the truth is, you guys, any one of you can do whatever it is that you want to do. I'm not saying it will be easy. I'm not saying there's not a hard road ahead of you. But is it really fun sitting in that fear-based, miserable place, wanting something else, looking at everyone else and seeing what they have and feeling like, oh, that's not something that you can achieve? That's not fun either. So might as well choose the hard one that will bring you some joy, bring you some relief.
So, if someone is listening to this, how do they know if they're actually living in fear? Because there's so many blind spots. And like you said, generational patterns that we were just taught and conditioned to be a certain way. So, you mentioned comparing. What other things should we be looking out for to build our awareness to know that we're living in fear?
I love that you said looking out for because you probably didn't even realize it, but it's really about looking in. It's all about going inside. And for a really long time, I spent my life also looking outside. And I'm not just talking about comparing myself to other people, but am I checking the boxes? And guess what? I checked every single box. I had the life. I mean, trust me, I went through my trauma, I went through my difficulties, but I got married at a young age. I had 3 kids. I had the career, and I wasn't fulfilled. And I was wondering why I wasn't fulfilled. So I had to start going inside of myself and seeing what was happening for me and why wasn't this formula that I thought if I followed it, everything would be great. Why for me and what was wrong with me, I'd ask myself. So I started going inwards, and the ways you go inwards, the first thing that you should do or you could do is challenge your thoughts. So every time a thought comes through your head, ask if it resonates with you. Is that just because a thought goes through your head does not mean it's true. It may not fit for you, but it flies through your head because it's what you've been taught. It's what you've been programmed by advertisers, marketing companies, again, society. So ask yourself, does that thought feel right? Does it fit? Is it true? And maybe it feels safe, but is it true? So that's one thing. Other thing is find silence. It's all about quiet. And trust me, you can tell I'm a talker and I'm always busy. My energy is super, super high. But I always find silence many times throughout the day because if you are not quiet, you can't figure out what's really going on. And a lot of people try to find silence, and another way of saying that is meditation, but they get discouraged because they don't get the results right away. And you have to understand that you have years. Let's say I'm going to go with someone who's probably the youngest person listening, might be 20 right now. You have 20 years of acting thinking one way. You think in one sitting of meditation, you're going to all of a sudden change everything. No. So what happens is the first few weeks, months, year of meditation, you have to have all those thoughts that keep coming up for you that aren't maybe the thoughts that are bringing you where you want to go. And you have to notice them and you have to let them go out. So you make room for your higher self to speak to you so that you can listen to your inner guidance. But you can't do that while all those thoughts are there. Other things you can do are eating more high vibrational foods. And I'm not going to say to you, okay, stop eating your junk, because deprivation never works for people, but maybe put some good stuff in. Move your body. Journal about like what are your goals, what's your purpose, what do you want. So many people don't even know they're unhappy or they're living fear-based because they don't even know what they want yet. How do you figure out what you want if you don't go inwards? And one way I suggest people do this, and then I'll let you go on, is pretend like you're your best friend. So let's say your best friend came to you and said, oh, I want a career change, or oh, I want something different from my life. What would you tell them? How would you talk them through it? Now do that to yourself, because the truth is you should be your own best friend. Self-love is so important. It's necessary, not selfish. So those are just a few. I mean, I have so many more, but I don't want to take up the whole show on this.
Yeah, no. And I love that you bring in the food too. One of my nutrition friends, she always says, what is the food that you're eating telling your body? And is it giving it, positive vibration and actually nurturing your body, or is it making it harder for you? Because even our food is linked to so many, anxiety and inflammation, and actually will come out in different, in stress reactions.
I mean, trust me, I love French fries. I love pizza. I think we all do, but I don't choose to spend my time there because I know it's not going to bring me forward. It doesn't mean I never have French fries or I never have pizza, but the majority of my diet is super healthy. And I think what you just said, or your friend said, is the same thing with our thoughts. Are they bringing high vibration? Are we feeling good? Do you feel the best you want to feel? If you look at your life, are you going to, out of a 1 to 10, is it a 10? Is it an 8? Is it a 5? Is it a 3? Whatever, wherever it is it where you want to be? And if not, then you have some work to do. And that's great, because what's better than working on yourself? You're your best investment.
Yeah, it's so true. What is one of your favorites? And I know for me, this always changes, but what is one of your favorite activities when someone says, okay, Pam, like I'm ready to work on myself, my thoughts are garbage and I need to step out of this pattern? What's one of the first steps you give them?
I mean, I'm a big person on meditation because I was riddled with anxiety and fears, and I hesitated when I said it because it does take time for the meditation to take effect. And I find that we're living in a culture where no one wants to wait that time. No one wants to give it the time. The other thing I might say is read books, listen to podcasts, listen to a show like Vanessa's that will inspire you. When we put, just like the food and the thoughts, when we put good information in our body, we surround ourselves with positive stuff, positive people, we become more positive just naturally. It's just such an easy thing. So where meditation might be a little bit more of a challenge for you, listening to podcasts or in the car or Audible or reading books. I mean, I could give you so many amazing books that will, like, within moments change. You'll have your aha. One book might have only one thing, but if you get one nugget from each book, you'll go so far. So I think that's what I would say.
Yeah, that's awesome. I actually love to tell people to set an alarm on their phone for every 2 hours. And when that alarm goes off, exactly what you just said, ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? Because so often we have that subconscious programming just going through our minds that we don't even know what is actually going on between our 2 ears.
Actually, two quick things. Dr. Joe Dispenza, I don't know if you know him, but he says we have 70,000 thoughts a day and 80% of them are negative, and we're not even aware of that. And if you don't know Joe Dispenza, you should know him. And the second thing is, I should have said, along with you only asked for one, but along with meditation, and reading and listening to podcasts, I would say when you wake up in the morning, think about what you're grateful for. Gratitude brings more good things into your life because what you focus on expands. So when you're focused on what's good in your life, you're only going to bring more of that. And I understand that some people really don't have a lot of good in their life right now, but you know what? If you have 10 fingers and 10 toes, that's something good. If you wake up in the morning, that's something good. If you have running water, that's something good. So you don't have to start with, ooh, I have something materialistic like this car, or, oh, I have this career. Start with the simple things and build on that.
Yeah, that's so good, because it starts to reframe how you look at the world. Yeah.
And sometimes you need accountability with that because you forget, because you get into your habits that you're already in. My cousin and I send a gratitude list via text every single morning. I text her 10 things I'm grateful for. She texts me 10 things she's grateful for. We're done for the day, and we set the tone for the day.
Cool. I like that. Find an accountability buddy and start sending your gratitudes. That's so good. I want to go back to when you said turn inward, because what I see also is some really intelligent people who confuse their fear for intuition. Because they'll say, oh, something doesn't feel right. I shouldn't do this. My intuition is telling me no. And they're making an excuse for it. How can someone know the difference between their intuition and their fear masking as intuition?
Your intuition isn't going to hold you back. Your intuition is going to propel you forward. So anything that's holding you back or telling you not to do something is your saboteur. And I'm not saying telling you not to go rob a bank or something like that, obviously, but anything that has a chance of being a positive in your life, if something comes in, it's your saboteur, it's your inner critic, it's your drunk monkey. We have so many different names for it, but whatever you want to call it, it's not your intuition. Your intuition is your very best guide. It's going to propel you to your very best life. So if it's something that's saying, ooh, if you have this idea or this thought and it's a good one, and then something gets in the way of it, let go of that.
Yeah.
And break it down into bite-sized pieces. So like you have this idea and then, oh my gosh, it's overwhelming, it's scary. You don't have to do the whole thing at once. Take one step forward. Say, and then you can decide, did that feel good? Was that comfortable? Did I like that? Okay, maybe I'll take another step forward, rather than thinking, I'm going to do this and all of a sudden I'm going to go from here to here. Like, just go slow, go small.
Yeah. And that's also what meditation does, because it helps you to just move slower and just keep making the next best step.
Yep, it regulates you.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I know you talk a lot about thinking positively. And some people, they're back. Even if you're listening right now, you may be like, no, that, and you might get defensive because you're thinking, I can't live in this bubble of unicorns and butterflies, and thinking positive is naive and delusional. Let's chat a little bit more about that, as to how positivity plays a role in the way that you look into the world, and how that compares to, our negative bias, or still feeling those uncomfortable emotions that come up.
Well, first of all, I get that. Like, obviously, life presents challenges and we have to face them. And that doesn't mean that everything all the time has to be positive. It's really important to feel your feelings. It's just important not to unpack and live in your feelings, because they can really bring us down. And I've had a rough road. My life has not been easy. People see me now and they're like, oh, everything's so perfect for her. Her life is charmed. I can promise you my book will be out this fall. You'll get to read about it along with tips and tools for how to overcome adversity. It was not like that. And one of the things that I took from it is, actually, today wasn't a great day for me. I was tired. It's super humid and rainy here, and the weather impacts me. But so I let myself have that day. But I'm not going to let myself have that day tomorrow and the next day and the next day, because that's just too much. And I don't want to live in that space. So I definitely think there's something to feeling your feelings, acknowledging them, but then moving on. And the thing with being positive is it's a choice. So it's a choice to stay in the negative headspace. It's a choice to stay in the positive one. They're both choices. And staying in the negative is also unrealistic. So if you say, oh, I don't want to be thinking, oh, unicorns and fairies and all that all the time, I totally get that. But why do you want to be thinking negatively all the time either? There's sort of a balance in between. I don't walk around, well, actually I do, walk around feeling great most of the time, because I choose that though. But I think it's also okay to walk around sort of feeling in the middle, knowing that life is going to work out for you. Because when you think about it, if you look back on all the challenges you've gone through, have you gotten through them? Have they killed you? If you're watching this, obviously not. So you can choose how you get through it. It's all about choice. Actually, I think Anthony Robbins says this. He has this huge thing. You can find it on YouTube about choice. And that's the one thing we can control, one thing that doesn't cost any money. And I just think being positive is going to bring more good into your life. And when you focus on the negative aspects, that's what you're going to bring into your life. So it's a choice.
Yeah. So if you are feeling negative emotions, and what do you recommend as the best way to move through them, to feel them, so that you can move to a positive thought?
I mean, I have a bunch of things. Well, first of all, journaling is really good because when you're feeling negative, one thing that's super important is to get it out. And sometimes we don't want to get it out with people or talk to a trusted professional or something like that. But if you journal, you can put it in the shredder afterwards. I mean, I don't recommend it, but a lot of people are like, well, what if my kids see it? What if my friends see it? So throw it in the shredder. But you're releasing it. Also, you're sort of unpacking it as you're journaling about it. There's probably a lot more up to the negativity than just that negative thought or the negative moment. There are triggers, there are things from your past that are being brought up that you're not even aware of. But when you start to write about it, it starts to come out and you're like, oh yeah, this makes sense. And now I realize why this is happening. So that would be one thing. And if you do like to talk to people, call a friend that you know will help you move through it, help you get comfortable with it, spend time alone, go for a walk, listen to your favorite music, do things that make you feel good, but not forcing yourself to feel good, but sort of that are like when I'm in a bad mood, my headphones are on all the time and I'm just listening to music and it just calms me down. But I like to think about what's going on. I'm very conscious of my feelings and very aware of them. And I think that's key. So when you notice that you're not in a good place, understanding why, understanding what's happening, asking yourself questions about it is super important, not only to move you through, but the next time you're in that headspace, you'll be at a different level and a different place with it if you explore it, rather than just putting your head down, going to McDonald's and being like, I'm going to numb out right now, which is what so many of us do.
Yeah. Do you think most people know when they're in a bad mood? And I know that seems like an obvious question, but I don't think they do.
That comes back to consciousness. It comes back to self-awareness. And the only way to become self-aware is to start noticing and being an observer of your thoughts, being an observer of your physicality, embodiment. How is your body feeling? And the only way to do that is ask yourself. And the thing is, like I love what you said. It's not what I would have said, but I'm going to take this with me if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I love it is setting an alarm to remind yourself to check in, do a mental and physical body scan. But also what I do is like, when I was first starting out, I didn't think about the alarm, or maybe I'm dating myself, but I don't know that we had cell phones either. But I had sticky notes all over the place because what happens is you're going to like get off this live and be like, oh, she's got such good energy. I can't believe if she can do it, I can do it. And you're going to be all pumped. And then you're going to go to bed and you have every intention of waking up and living in the space that I just presented to you, but you forget because you go back to your patterns and habits. So what is a pattern interrupter? It's something that changes the course of that pattern. So writing down something like on a sticky note and putting it on your desk, on your computer, and saying something like, take a few minutes to check in with myself, ask myself some questions. Whatever it is, the words that will remind you to do that, whatever it is, just do that. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, I really like that you said pattern interrupter. And that goes back to this numbness and even what you were talking about before, where you were living this life and you checked off all the boxes and one day you were seeking something more. And I think so many people can resonate with that. It's funny you say the Post-its. I'm in my office right now and I have all of my Post-its on my journal.
Of course she does, right? Because she's on the path, and that's awesome. I mean, it's just about starting and having a few consistent days and not beating yourself up if you fall off. Like I say this all the time. It's like a diet. When we fall off and we binge or we just overeat one day, the next day we're like, oh, whatever, I already ruined it. I'm going to do it again. No, you didn't ruin it. You just had a day off and now you're going to get back on. And that's what you have to do. You just got to keep climbing on, because honestly, I've been doing this for more years than I want to say. And the thing is that I fall off all the time, but every time I get back on, I level up and I'm at a new place and it's a new exploration. And it's really cool once you immerse yourself in the journey of it.
Yeah, it's almost like, and Dr. Shafali, I don't know if you know who she is, and she talks about reparenting. However, we were raised, our parents did the best they can, but they raised us in a certain way that may or may no longer be serving us. And it's up to us in this moment to reparent ourselves and learn to soothe ourselves so that we can have a better relationship and better react to things moving forward.
And I think also, even if your parents were amazing parents, mine were, and they were flawed, but even no matter how amazing they were, we're in a new world. We're not in the world that our parents grew up in. So there's differences no matter what. So you probably are going to need to reparent. And one thing that you need to do when you're reparenting, is you look at your inner child and you acknowledge the weaknesses as much as you acknowledge the strengths. So it's not easy, but it's easier to be like, oh yeah, you were such a good athlete when you were 10 years old. What were the things you weren't good at? That's what needs the most attention. That's what needs the most healing. Being okay with those things, loving that girl, no matter what those things were. And I think it's really important to go back to those days, but also today, we all have weaknesses. There are so many things that I'm working on for myself, but I'm okay with those things. I don't harp on them, and I certainly don't beat myself up the way I used to about those things because I'm a work in progress.
I love that. So your journal prompt for tonight, think about your inner child and go back and think, what were you good at? And what weren't you good at? I love that. I haven't done the like, what weren't you good at as a child? That's really beautiful. I have my little journal prompt for the night too. That's good. And so how does, you also mention generational patterns. This I'm obsessed with and we don't talk about enough. Can you talk a little bit more about these generational patterns and what that actually means?
So, like, I'm just going to use an example. Let's say you grew up in a very unaffectionate family, but you wish you were more affectionate. Chances are your parents or one of your parents grew up in an unaffectionate family and their family did too. And what we do is we take things at face value and we just keep going on from the past. And it's not just the trauma of that, but also whatever that generation was living in. I mean, COVID-19 is horrible, but trust me, past generations lived some version of this. We've been through this before, and we will continue to go through this because it's just a different version of something that previous generations went through. So it's the trauma of whatever the generation itself was facing. And we're going to keep passing that down until we as an individual notice it and say, you know what, I don't want this for my family. I don't want this for myself. I made a decision personally, me, that I did not want my kids to have the upbringing that I had, even though my parents were amazing and they loved me so much. There was a lot that they came from that made them who they were. And I just decided this is not happening with my kids. And it stopped with me. But we have to notice that stuff. We have to be looking at it. We have to think about it. So I also had a lot of stuff from my parents that I wanted to bring on to my kids and teach them. And there's that too, but that's easier to implement. It's the stuff, were your parents yellers? Did they hit? Like, do you want to continue that? I know a lot of them are about money and scarcity and constantly worrying about money and talking about how they don't have. The minute you change that thought about lack and bring it to abundance, then that's when things will change for you. And it's not going to change overnight. It'll take time, but it'll change. So I don't want my kids worrying about money. I want them to know they're capable of making whatever kind of living they want. So those are the patterns of that predate us, our parents, their parents' parents. And once we change them, once we as the individual decide to change them, not only will that change our own lives, our partners will be impacted by it, and our kids and our kids' kids and our kids' kids. And it's so cool.
Yeah, it's so powerful when you can actually say, so, and if you're listening, woman or man, you can actually say it stops with me. Like, no more. I'm committed to this, not just for myself, but for future generations. And sometimes that's why the work is so hard, because you're trying to unpack things that have been happening for generations and you don't even know why, but it becomes such a powerful tool that you can then give your family.
Well, and it goes back also to like not questioning anything. We're on autopilot. We just take everything as we're given it, and we're not saying, wait, why is this? Why am I closed off? Why am I emotionally unavailable to my partner? And when you start noticing that about yourself and asking yourself, we're afraid to look at that on our own selves because it means there's a weakness with it. There's a flaw within us. So we act and pretend like we put on this mask for society, but we really know deep down on a very conscious level that it's there. Bring it to the surface so you can get past it.
Yeah, I remember the first time I saw, and I'm sure you've seen this, there is this picture with your grandmother holding your mother, like in her womb, and your mother had you, a little egg, and your being and DNA within her.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you actually, I remember when I first saw this, I was like, no, I was part of my grandmother's body.
So crazy, right?
Right? It goes back to cellular level.
Yep.
Yeah. So you brought up this money talk, which is so key in generational patterns. How does you working on your mindset impact your money and your business and all areas of your life?
I mean, if you think you can, you're right. And if you think you can't, you're right. So whatever we think is what we bring into our life, and it's what we manifest. So if you're thinking, I'm never going to make money. I'm going to be just like my dad he tried, he kept going on different businesses and it just never happened. That's what you're going to do. Or if you think, you know what, my dad did this and I learned a lot from him, but I learned what I don't want to be like, and you change that, that's what you're going to achieve. And you have to believe in yourself. No one's going to believe in you if you don't believe in yourself. So when it comes to money, it's like, you have to have a purpose. You have to set a plan and you have to create a strategy for getting there. But the most important thing is that you focus on it. Again, where attention goes, energy flows. And so whatever we put our attention on is what we're going to bring into our lives. Now, if you've been a certain way for so many years, it's going to take time because you have to unravel a lot, but it's totally doable. And there's no reason that everyone has an opportunity to make money. I'm not saying that we're all going to be the Bill Gates, but we don't need to be the Bill Gates. And we probably all could be if we decided we wanted to be anyway. I know Bill Gates is very controversial right now too. I don't know why I brought him up.
It's all good. We'll just ruffle a few feathers.
Yeah, exactly. Just money wise.
Yeah.
It's all about everything is about our thoughts. If you just said to yourself, for 2 days, I'm going to play this game with myself. I am going to decide. I don't believe in Pam stuff. I don't believe in all this stuff, but I'm just going to try it just so I can prove her wrong and tell her how wrong she is. And then you go for 2 days, which is not the right attitude, by the way, but do it. And you go for 2 days and you focus on everything that could go right in your life, and everything that you want and everything that you want to bring into it, and see what happens after those 2 days. I'm telling you, if nothing else, you're going to feel better than the 2 days before.
Do you have any other tips if people are listening and thinking, man, I have some money mindset issues?
I mean, again, I go back to podcasts. I go back to books on finances, learning about it, talking about it, start talking to your friends about it. One thing that I notice from most people that I work with that do have money issues is they don't like to talk about money because they're taught that it's a taboo topic. My kids, I have two 18-year-olds and a 16-year-old. They know everything about money. They know everything about my financial situation. They each have their own businesses. They're little entrepreneurs. Whether they're doing amazing or not really doesn't matter. And the thing is, because they don't see any limits for themselves because that's how they were raised. So that would be the first thing. Make it become financially literate. And I don't mean literate by like, this is what I should invest in, which you could do also, but comfortable talking about finances. The other thing is, what is important about the finances to you? What do you want? Whether it's materialism, security, vacation. Well, vacation would be materialism, but what do you want from that? Create a vision board. And a lot of people say vision boards don't work. And vision boards don't work when you think I'm going to slap a picture on a piece of poster board and then it's going to come true. Of course not. But what it is it's like repetitive. You start focusing on that. You start looking at that picture and you start creating that. There's this thing that I've learned that basically you start creating what you want way before you start actually stepping into it. The moment you have the first thought about it is when you start creating it. Now, how far you go with that is up to you. But once you start having the first thought about it, it can start to become your reality. So you start to think about it. And then you start to study people who you would like to emulate, who you like to be like in that situation. And then you're intentional about it, you're focused on it, and then as you continue to do that, you start to become more conscious of it. And then when you become more conscious of it, it happens in the 3D on this earth level planet, and you can create it. But it starts way before it starts to manifest to you in your physical life.
Yeah, everything is so linked because it's an energetic thing. And that's where mindset is so powerful, because it actually changes the way you show up in the world, the way you walk into a room, and everything that becomes attracted to you.
And you everything becomes attracted to you because you become this attractive force. And you don't even have to be conventionally the most beautiful person, but you are already the most beautiful person because of your energy and your magnetism and your vibration. And it takes work, but what happens is you start, and it's not like 20 years from now, okay, I'm at my destination. It's like all along the way, you make little bits of progress and you continually to upgrade yourself. And it's cool. It's a great way to live.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about that work, because I often ask my circle and my environment, what's something that I need to be sharing more? What's something people don't know about me? And the last time I did it, everyone answered the same thing, and it was that you actually work really hard. So I want to add some more light into if someone's really serious about diving into their mindset. I call it the mental Olympics. How much work is it going to take? And what should they be ready and prepared for?
Well, first of all, I call it work for the purpose of the audience, but to me, it's not work. To me,
Yes.
it's like, it's pleasure, it's passion, it's my everyday life that I enjoy. What should you be ready for? You should be ready for the good, the bad, and the ugly, because when you explore your whole self, you can't only explore the light that you want to see, you have to explore your dark spots. You can't get to the light without going through the dark. Forgiveness is key, not just forgiving others, forgiving yourself. Forgiveness is huge. Listening to your inner voice, getting to know your inner voice. Again, we talked about gratitude. There are so many different steps. And the thing is, like, I'm sure you guys have heard or read different rituals, different routines. Learning about all the various different routines, but saying to yourself, okay, I can't do all of these. We can't all accomplish all of these in one day. So what are the top 10 for you? And maybe breaking it down, and you do 2 one day, 2 the next day, 2 the next day. Could it be a yoga class? So, I mean, I could give hundreds, but it really is what resonates with you. And in my book, not to keep talking about my book, but in my book,
Love it. Keep doing it. You should be proud, girl.
I am. I haven't gotten it out there yet. I'm still a little nervous, by the way. I'm nervous. I'm
These
scared.
fears, limitations, we all got them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But so at the end of each chapter, and there are 26 or 28 chapters, I have a set of tips for each section, and they're tips and takeaways. And like I said, they're like the forgiveness, they're like the gratitude, listening to your inner voice, loving yourself, self-love, self-care. We were taught not to care for ourselves, to put everyone else before us, to make sure everyone else is happy, whether it's a people pleaser or not. How could you make anyone else happy if you're not happy with yourself? That's the first thing I would do. Get to know yourself. Like, again, you're dating yourself. What do you like? What don't you like? A lot of times we do things we don't like to please others, or not just to please others, to fit in. I did that for so long. I was super social. I was going out all the time, best places that you could be. I have no life, and I love it. Now, that might not be what feeds you. Something else may feed you. Having that big life might feed you. Then go do that, but find out what resonates with you. The more you do things that resonate with you, the more in alignment you'll be. The more in alignment you'll be, the more all of this work will be easier for you. But when you're resisting, it's much harder.
Yeah. So to tie it all back, is this what it means to level up? So you hear this word so often, and I think we don't really know what that means. Like, what does it mean to actually level up in your life?
For each person, it's something different, but what it means is to continually do the work on yourself to bring you to a better place. We have been dumbed down, and I don't mean just intellectually, but we have been taught just to follow the crowd. Honestly, I look at what the crowd's doing, and I almost always do the opposite. And I'm so happy that I do. And we're just kind of on autopilot like little robots. How could one model work for every human being on this planet? It's just not possible. You have to learn what your model is. Maybe it'll make you an outlier. Maybe it'll make you a little different. But the thing is, your soul, you'll be tuning into your soul. Your soul will feel so full that you won't even care. Anyone could say anything to me, and I'm not saying it wouldn't penetrate or hurt, but it won't matter if I'm following my path. I know that. So leveling up means tuning in, tapping in, learning yourself, working on yourself, and then doing it again, and doing that again, and then doing it again, and then doing that again. Because and you're doing the same thing, but you're going to see these patterns and behaviors. They're going to keep coming up for you until you've really gotten to a place where I actually think they'll always keep coming up for you, but you're going to face them differently. You're going to interact with them differently. And again, the dark side is so important. It's the most important place to visit.
Yeah. And it goes back to how we started this. The world needs you to level up. They want to hear your story. They want to see you shine, and you leveling up and you shining gives other people permission to do the same, because we're all unique and different. And I love how you said, just tap into your own truth, what's right for you. And if you're happy, awesome. But if you're feeling what Pam said, this this need for more, this desire, and this lack of fulfillment, then maybe these are little signs that you should be diving deeper.
Well, signs are a great thing. I would say two things. One, I would say not just the world needs you, you need you. If you are not being your authentic self, you aren't taking care of yourself. And then also signs, there are signs all around us. They're not just physical signs, they're signs in front of us outside that are external. You got to notice them. You've got to be aware. You got to look at them because they will guide you on your path.
Yeah, it's so true. And ask for the sign. If you don't ask and you're not looking, you're not going to see it because they're all over. It's such a good reminder, Pam. Thank you. Can we, just as we finish up, I want to talk a little bit about balance, because you talk about balance and people think, is this a thing? Should we be seeking balance when we're looking at mindset and work and relationships? How does that all apply to mindset?
I mean, first I'd say there are no shoulds. Like, I'm not totally balanced in the sense of working on myself, because I spend more time than most people would spend working on myself because I like it and I derive joy and pleasure from it. So if someone looked at me, they wouldn't say that's balance, but that's okay for me because I like it. What's not good about being out of balance is when it's not feeling good, when you're either toxic or your body, you're noticing things, you're overweight, and there's nothing, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the physical appearance of being overweight, but it doesn't usually feel good. You're not healthy. Maybe your eyes are not as white and they're a little bit more yellow. Things like that will show that you're out of balance, and you can be out of balance in different areas of your life. So for that purpose, it's important to bring yourself back to balance. The best way to bring yourself back to balance is meditation. And just what I want to say about meditation, because I know it's such a hot word right now, and it's also hard for people because no one wants to sit still, because no one wants to have to hear their own thoughts. There are lots of ways to meditate. Cooking is meditation. Cleaning the dishes is meditation. Taking a walk is meditation. Anything where you can quiet your mind and enjoy yourself during is a form of meditation. There's also formal meditation where you sit and you're like, that, and you do mantras, or you just do it yourself with no guidance. But having time for your own self, and it could be 2 minutes. If you give yourself 2 minutes of quiet a day for the next month, it's going to change your life. 2 minutes, 2 minutes.
Yeah, I love that you say that. Honestly, we're just BFFs right away, because one of my favorite meditations is drinking tea and going for a walk. And I think you can turn, like you said, anything into a meditation as long as you're present. Like,
Yeah.
I actually sip the tea and I think, how's this feeling on my tongue and down my throat and in my body? And what does it taste like? And do I enjoy this? And it's just so fun. I could drink tea for half an hour and just.
You guys should try that. That's another one of your homework for tonight. I mean, it actually gives you something to focus on, as opposed to just sitting quietly and having to be there with your thoughts. But it creates space in your mind.
Yeah, that's
Love
so
that.
awesome. So what do you want to leave people with after listening to this interview and listening to all the skills and tools that you taught us today? What's one thing that you really want to make sure that someone takes away?
I mean, there's not one thing I can do. So it's
You
probably
can
going to
give
be a couple.
whatever.
Well, the first thing I'd say is don't be overwhelmed, because I know a lot of times people put this stuff out there and we talk about it, and we've gotten there. I mean, we're still going there, but we've gotten to a place that people are like, we'll never be able to do that. But I promise you, I was where you are. And I know I was where you are because of things I went through. I was at the bottom. I call it a well. I was at the very bottom of a well. And when someone throws a rope down and you're trying to climb up that well, I'd climb up and I'd slip and I'd get knocked down again, over and over and over again. Just keep going. Just keep trying. It doesn't matter if it happens the first time, or if you make a mistake, or you don't do it the way you think you're supposed to do it. Just get back up. And if you can't get back up the next day, get back up the next day. That would be one takeaway. Don't overwhelm yourself. Know you can do it, and believe in yourself. You deserve it. You are here for a reason. This is not an accident that you are on this planet during this time. I know it's very hokey to a lot of people and they don't get it, and they're maybe more scientific based, but I can promise you, I know 100%, I have no doubt, we have been chosen. We're each miracles, and there's miracles all around us. We've just been taught that miracles have to be this big, huge, crazy thing, but no, you're the miracle, and you're here for a reason. Figure out your purpose. I want to see it, and I want to see you achieve it.
That's so good. Ladies, gentlemen, you're all miracles. It's so beautiful. I love that. Because even if you really believe that, you go out into the world and see everyone as a miracle. And it just warms my heart and just fills me with so much love and joy when we can truly accept and love one another.
I got one more.
Yeah, love
Okay.
it.
Okay, cool. Okay, so we've been taught to harden our hearts, but everything is about love. It's all about love. But we've hardened our hearts because we don't want to be rejected. We don't want to put ourselves out there, or we've been hurt over the years and we don't want to feel that again. The thing is, when we start putting love out there without attaching to what's coming back to us, it's a beautiful place to be. And it's hard to get there because of all the bruises and calluses that we have on our hearts. So the first thing you can do is just smile at a stranger or pay for the person's coffee behind you. And it is so gratifying. It is so satisfying. It doesn't matter if they thank you, if they're like, you're so weird. Don't worry about that. You're doing something nice for someone else, and giving is living. It's all about giving. There's nothing more to life than giving. So that would be the one other.
That's so awesome. Michael Singer talks about that in his book, The Untethered Soul, and
Yeah.
how we're always opening and closing our heart as this illusion of safety. Someone does something and then we literally, we shrug, we close our heart, and it's way more exhausting. If we just kept our heart open, we are so much stronger than we could ever know.
And it is an illusion. It's all an illusion. I love that. And I love Michael Singer.
Yeah, it's so good. Well, honestly, thank you so much, Pam. I feel like we could chat forever. We are just singing the same song. And I hope if you're listening to this, something resonated with you. And maybe you got an extra little tip or tool that you can take away in your day and just continue along this journey, and just know you are not alone. Both Pam and I have been there. We're still there. We're still students of mindset, and it's something we're focusing on daily. And should you need any support or help, please reach out. If people want to get a hold of you, Pam, where can they find you?
You can either find me at Pam Christian with 2 N's at the end. That's on Instagram. And you can DM me. I respond within 48 hours. If you need anything, I'm here. Or you can check out my website at thepamchristiangroup.com.
And what's this new book called? When's it released?
So it's with the editor for final edits, and it'll probably be sometime mid-fall. And it's called, I Hope You're Having a Great Day. I Know I Am.
So good. I can't wait to read it. You have to keep us in the loop.
Definitely.
And we'll do a big celebration for you, because we have to celebrate each other's successes, and we're just all in it together. So yeah, thank you so much, Pam. Sending everyone so much love. Thank you for being here. I so appreciate you. And just remember that you're a miracle. Love you. Bye.